Hey. Someone write something in the chat just to make sure it's working, as always. Let's see who's with me this time. Hopefully a couple of nerds, because we're gonna pretty much nerd out today. Hey. Hola. Amigazzi, Casper. I don't remember. Did I ask you what your name is? DT770 Pro. I'm thinking that's not on your birth certificate. Done. Okay. How are you guys doing today? Sorry, just need to get the mic set. Here we go. Benjamin, all right, man. Good to meet you. I'll try to remember that. I'll stick it in here in the Mind Palace. In the living room, right next to the plants. Hi, Morten. Okay, how many of you are watching actually make music of your own? And how many are just very interested in it? You're making music, Morten. Okay, cool. Nice one. I mean, today what we're gonna do is well, that's honest, Benjamin. That's honest, but hey, man, I made really terrible music too at one point. Sometimes you just gotta stick with it. Anyways, today we're gonna talk about a trick that I wish that I'd been taught way sooner, and I think maybe someone told me about it, but without an explanation, and I didn't get it. I didn't get how to use it properly, and that is distortion and saturation. And I would say it's like one of those things that can completely change the way your music sounds. And the way we're gonna talk about it is not in the I want to distort a guitar to make it sound like an 80s hair metal solo. It's not that way. It's more of a let's enhance this piece of audio. Let's make it, you know, the popular saying is like, let's make it pop out of the speakers. Like, let's make it pop. Not as the genre, but the thing of a thing popping. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's good. And for a long time, what I did to try to get that feeling was to compress audio and equalize audio and really equalize it. Like, equalize it too much, I'd say. And it's a pretty recent thing. And when I say recent, I'm talking like the past 3 months, where it's like I finally got it. I finally understood how to use these tools in a way where you can get volume, you can get that upfront intimate sound, but you can also get highs into your sounds that aren't piercing your ears, which is something I often think happen if you just use an equalizer to boost the highs. I mean, the music we listen to today, let's just go one step deeper before I show you how I do it. The music we listen to today, it kind of has like a smiley curve on the equalizer. And let me just show you what I mean. Gonna load up good old Pro Q here. And let's just make it full screen. Okay. So I think you see what I see now. Yeah, you do. Okay, so in music, I guess I just have to take this effect off. And I'm gonna turn on drums as well, just to make it easy. Okay, we have what's called a smiley curve in today's music compared to music of, say, like in the 60s. If you listen to an old Beatles record, there's gonna be a lot of mids. And what are mids? Well, let's show you by listening to this piece of audio. The mid band is sort of like this. So if you ever catch one of my streams and I'm talking about the mids, this is the part of the music I'm talking about. And it's pretty obvious why it's called the mids. It's because it's the frequencies right in the middle. And maybe you've heard of the terms bass and treble. It's like on stereos and whatever, you can enhance that. So let me take that away. So the bass is down here. Those are the very low, it's the rumbling, it's the frequencies you feel. So like, now they're way too loud, but you can hear the kick and the bass are accentuated quite a bit. And if I turn up the highs, which is over here, what we get instead, little bug. What we get instead are like the hi-hats and the very high end of the synthesizers and stuff. So you can hear the hi-hats are becoming pretty unpleasant, at least to me. Those are some annoying bugs, man. Anyways, yeah, let's do it like this. So back in the day, a lot of music was like in the middle. So not that much bass and not that much treble, because like old tape, vinyl, and whatever machines and microphones they used, they couldn't catch the very lows and the very highs of the music. And hello, Gerd, good to have you here. So it would be more like a sound like this. I mean, it doesn't make any sense because I'm playing you an electronic song, but it's just like a quick example. So what has happened over the past, 50 years, and I would argue it's still happening, is like we're scooping out more and more of the mids to get what's called a smiley curve. And it's pretty obvious why it's called a smiley curve. It kind of looks like a mouth smiling, right? So you can either say you're removing mids or you're boosting highs and lows. And it's the same thing that happens in the end. You get that smiley curve. And for a long time, what I did to create that was to just use an equalizer like this, where I boosted the highs and I boosted the lows, but there's something about doing that in the digital realm where it doesn't sound good often, or it sounds a little bit harsh. Harsh is probably the right word. So I want to show you guys how to get a Smiley Curve sound that also has some sort of mid presence and sounds great. And we're going to use distortion for that. And I'm going to focus on 3 plugins that I use. And they're basically all I use for it. It's the FabFilter Saturn, which looks like this. It's just a very good overall plugin with a lot of different algorithms. And honestly, I basically only use the clean tube, but you know, it can do all sorts of things. Then there's the amazing Decapitator, which is probably my favorite right now. And I had it for a while and just didn't get how to use it. And that's complete with fake wood paneling, you know, just to make you think that it's analog, when of course it's not. And the last thing is the black box. And that looks like this. And it's a real beast. Okay, so we're gonna go through those 3. And right now, this sketch that I'm working on, just earlier today, because this is a sketch I started working on like 4 months ago, I think. And I tried to put on some of the some of these distortion, saturation plugins and see what I could get. And let me just do a quick before and after. So this is, let me check. Yeah, now it is without it. I'm gonna turn the music up. So if it's super loud on your system, maybe turn it down a little bit and I'll turn it up. I guess I could do that, Morten, or I'll write them in Discord. I think would be the easiest thing for me to do. And I promised myself to actually remember to plug the Discord. So I think I'll do that. Because the more people join in there, the better. Because it's a really nice place for us to just do all sorts of stuff. Like a lot of different music is being shared, and there's everything going on, and it's not just when we live stream. Let me just hit you up with a link to that. Invite people, copy. Here we go. Yeah, would love to have you join me in Discord with the other people who already joined. It's a good place to discover new music and just have a good time. Also, Casper asked if I use Abletons, and I don't. But I think I already used Saturn before I switched to Ableton, and I never got started with Saturator. But what I think is so annoying with it is that when you turn up the drive, the gain is just blown out of proportion. So I can never tell what good comes from driving, because it just gets louder. Does that make any sense? I like it way more in the other plugins, and I do think they sound better. Hey, Brandon. Okay. So I kind of lost focus for a second because we're still on how it sounds without the saturation plugins. And you know what? Let's go over here. It makes more sense. Okay, without and with. Okay, just one more quick before and after, and I do know that actually I should just put on a little bit of gain compensation on the master when I put it on, because otherwise it gets louder. But that is one of, I just want to say that now by turning it down, it doesn't really peak louder. It's just because distortion also kind of compresses the sound. So it is that thing, you get a bit of extra volume. But now let's see if I can get it to work. Okay, I just need to switch this one. It's inverted. 0 - 2. That's just, I'm guessing that's kind of it. Okay, now it works. Sorry, guys. Hey, Melina. Good to see you. So this is with and without. And let me just point out, none of this is perfect yet. I haven't really mixed it a lot. It's just to give you that sense of how much more excitement it can bring to sounds. So now let's go from the top, the drums. Here's without. And I might have some distortion on the separate sounds, but right here, it is just on the bus. And I'm using the black box, probably the most expensive of them, but it's a really great sounding plugin. You can go totally overboard. You can add air, you can, now we're getting into the territory of what we think is a distorted sound, right? When you hear the word distortion, you're thinking, that is like almost violent. And that is not the way I want to teach you about, because everyone can do that. It's just about throwing all of the knobs up to whatever maximum amount there is. No, I'm just using it a little bit and mixing it in. Here's without, and again with. And it just has that extra excitement without, at least to my ears, becoming annoying. And right now, I think it's a little too much, so I'll use this mix button and just have it like maybe 50-50 or something like that. The cool thing about the black box is that you can decide only to saturate the highs. And then this air amount in the same plugin gives a really grainy type of high frequency to the sound. And for instance, on the song Snow, from the last EP, this plugin was essential in getting that sound. So let's leave it at that. I think when I did it earlier today, what made the biggest impact for me was on this Micro Monster, which is a hardware synthesizer I have, where I recorded it, and it sounds like this. Just gonna turn it down a little bit. And I had a lot of issues with this sound, getting it to feel full, and I couldn't do it with an equalizer only, because whenever I boosted the highs too much, it just lost the naturalness. That's not a word, but I'm using it. So here's with and without. With. And without. Fairly subtle, but when you hear it in the mix, the difference it makes is pretty insane. So I'm putting it on. And what I've done with this sound is just use the E algorithm. I think that's like a Neve console, whatever. Driving it a fair amount, shaping the tone a little bit, and that's it. Mixing it to whenever it feels completely correct. Decapitator is such a good plugin, man. And let's see, I feel like I put it on one more thing. Well, I put it on basically everything, and it made a big difference. Also, yeah, and I put the black box on the bus. This is the main bus, like where all the instruments go into. So let's do it with and without it again. And here it's on all instruments, and you can tell the difference immediately. It's just a little bit more dead here. And now it's on. And again, like, oops, sorry. I'm not putting on that much saturation. It's definitely not to the amount where it sounds like distortion, and the mix is like at 60%. Maybe this is even a little bit too much when I hear it back, but still, it just adds that certain something that you could spend hours trying to achieve with an equalizer and never getting to this point. That's at least my experience. I mean, it is. I don't know why no one told me. I don't know if it's like some type of secret. Because it feels like ever since I sort of realized what I could do with it, I see it everywhere, you know, like other people's tutorials or whatever. But it's just like it didn't cross my mind for so long. I thought like, yeah, I use distortion plugins to distort, but that's not it. It's to enhance. Like now 95 to maybe 98% of the times where I use distortion and or saturation, it's to enhance, it's not to distort. And that, I think that is the way to think about it. You can put it on vocals as well. I have these vocals that it's just like I was trying to find a melody, and I kind of like it, but it's first takes, and It's one of those recordings where I've changed the timing afterwards. So, well, you can hear. Always looking for a number, reason to be sad. Always looking for a different reason to cry. Always looking for a shoulder you can lean on. Always talking on the phone with a friend who's not me. I'm in my head all the time, but not when I'm with you. I hope you gotta find it before it's too late. But now I know what love feels like when I belong to anybody out there who she knows so. Okay, so that's the vocal, and I like it. I think the sound is fine. It's there aren't any frequencies that are totally wrong. But what I would love to do is just again make them pop a little bit. I have two ways of doing that. I use a slight bit of distortion, and I use this plugin called Gem Dopamine. Gem Dopamine is sort of an enhancement plugin as well that uses some type of tape saturation on certain frequencies. Again, I'm not a scientist. I can't explain it perfectly, but I can explain what it does, and that's the important bit. So I'm putting on a little bit of that, and then I often use satin for voices, but it depends. Like if it's satin, Decapitator, or black box, they're all good. And just a tad, maybe like let's go 27.5%, and then I'm gonna add that shortcut to to AB it. So now without. Always looking for a number, reason to be sad. Always looking for a different reason to cry. Always looking for a shoulder you can lean on. Always talking on the phone with a friend who's not me. And I'm gonna put it on. Always looking for a number, reason to be sad. I think I'm gonna dial it up a little bit. Always looking for a different reason to cry. Always looking for a shoulder you can lean on. Talking on the phone with a friend who's not me. I'm in my head all the time, but not when I'm with you. I hope you gotta find it before it's too late. But now I know what love feels like when I belong to anybody out there who she knows so. Yeah, something like that. I mean, I think it makes a huge difference in a positive way. And it's just another example of using distortion saturation where it doesn't actually sound like things are being distorted, right? So you can hear it alone here. Always looking for a number, reason to be sad. Always looking for a different reason to cry. Now let's try to just actually make it distorted so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Always looking for a number, reason to be sad. That's distorted, and that is way too much. But this always looking for a number, reason to be sad. It's just enhancing the material. Always looking for a different reason to cry. Always looking for a shoulder you can lean on. The good thing about all three plugins that I'm talking about today is that you can focus on saturating the highs, because I would say that is the most important bit often, where you need that extra little sparkle. Satin is a multiband thing. It's easy. You just press let me zoom in, you just press the plus here, and then you can saturate only this band and just leave the bottom end alone, and then choose your crossover point. So you can go. Always looking for a number, reason to be sad. Always looking for a different reason to cry. Always looking for a shoulder you can lean on. And let's hear it without. Always looking for a number, reason to be sad.
Always looking for a different reason to cry.
Massive difference. And it kind of is like equalizing, but then not. Because it adds excitement and kind of adds stuff that isn't there rather than just pushing harsh frequencies. I mean, you probably have to play around with it yourself to fully sort of understand the difference. You just have to, for now, you just got to take my word for it. But man, it's it has taken my productions from like level 4 to level 5. This trick. Yeah, and as I showed you, let's do the distortion one here, the black box. If I only want to saturate the highs, I'm going to use here on the saturation frequency, I'm just going to choose highs, and then all the saturation will only be on the highs. So you can go from...
Always looking for another reason to be sad. Always looking for a different reason to cry. Always looking for a shoulder you can lean on. Always talking on the phone with a friend who's not me. Always looking for another reason to be sad. Always looking for a different reason to cry.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of need, I hope you have a good internet connection, because these are those last 5% type of things that when you do production, you always search for these last 5%. And for me, that search for a long time was just so difficult. And this is something that has just made it way easier. And I want to pass that on, because life is more fun when it's easier. Am I right? Yeah, and you can do the same with the Decapitator. I don't want to... There's no need for me to keep talking about that. But these enhancement techniques, you know, if you do music, check them out. And yes, equalize. And I can tell that this is one of my old equalize settings, because I've done probably a little bit too much. Because using saturation, the other thing that has meant is that I equalize way less. And my God, is that a pleasure. Because it's probably the most annoying thing about producing music. It's constantly changing an equalizer. I'm so fucking done with it. Hey man, let's listen to this song, because I'm kind of interested in whether you think there's anything here for me to work on, or if it's just an idea I need to think about letting go. It really is just a sketch right now, so you don't you shouldn't think of it as like, should I release this tomorrow? It's just, should I continue working on it? I think there are some great ideas. I also think there's stuff to work out, but let me know what you think after you've heard it. Also, I was thinking while listening to it that it's a little overcompressed right now. I'm going to dial that back a few places. We don't want it to be overcompressed. Here we go. Let's try this. You're welcome, guys. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I am maybe a little lukewarm on it. It doesn't. Maybe it's just because it's a little older for me, but it doesn't bring the same spark of joy that some of the newer songs do. But maybe a Patreon song or something like that. It could always become that. The Patreon I keep talking about, but doesn't exist yet. Someone asked a little earlier. It was Benjamin who asked about my kick. My kick samples. And I would say two things about that. I've spent years building up a library of kick samples that I enjoy. And one place I would advise people to go to. I mean, it is mostly trap sounds, but let me find the place for you. I'm just searching. Right, I'm gonna share a link in the chat here. So this place on Reddit, beware, sometimes some pirated stuff is posted, but a lot of it is original free samples by users. And there's a lot of good stuff, especially if you do like more hip hop oriented stuff. But you can get some of those like really knocking kicks. But it's just about searching and building up a database of your own, and really be extremely mindful when you listen to them. Do I like it? And if you do, save it. And maybe only have like 10 kick drums to choose from, like of your very favorite kick drums, because otherwise it can get messy pretty quickly. So rather have a few amazing ones that really hit you in the chest, rather than have 1,000 kick drums you have to listen through every time. The other one is I actually started primarily making my own kick drum in Serum, which is a synth that I don't really use anymore. But then I realized that it was just spectacular for making kicks. And I'm going to talk about the Patreon. I'll soon release a kick sample bank where I make it in Serum, because they can really be deep without filling up the entire mix. It's just a really good place. So for instance here, this is a completely synthesized kick. Hi Gustav. Let me see what you write. You spent time on it. And hi Mark. So Mark asked me how the vocals are processed. And the thing I do is, and it's a technique I use very often these days, especially when I'm out of ideas, it is that I record the vocal in sort of imagining that the song is twice as slow. I just record. Oh my God, that's such a bad explanation. Let me just show you instead. So, what is it? This is how it was actually recorded.
Always looking for another reason to be sad. Always looking for a different reason to cry.
So I recorded pretty slow, like long lines, and then while I do these melodies, I sort of imagine them in half tempo, because then afterwards in Ableton I just do the divide by 2, and now I got this instead.
Always looking for another reason to be sad. Always looking for a different reason to cry. Always looking for a shoulder you can lean on.
And the cool thing about it is that you do get those pitch flutters that, I mean, my voice is not able to do that fast recording it normally. So this is a way for me to get that effect, but it's also still in the realm of possibility for me to sing live. I can still go, always looking for another reason to be sad. But especially with a little bit of a rehearsal. But I would never record that, because when I write melodies in my head, they're not that fast. I can't really explain it other than the way I hear melodies. They're often pretty drawn out and evolving. And that's good sometimes, but sometimes I want them to be faster and more energetic. And this is a better way for me to write them. I come up with way better results. And sometimes I write them that way, and then I record them in normal time afterwards. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like there's two good things about it. It's like mentally it makes me write other melodies, and sound-wise I can get that pitch flutter thing going where it sounds almost natural, but not fully. Yeah. So that's a trick I can really recommend. And Gustav writes, it's a vibe, man. Yeah, and he likes the vocal processing as well. And the beat feels happy to me. The beat could be fused with some more textures. Yeah, and thanks, man. I totally agree. I think there's a little bit something missing. I had a long time where, like, whatever I was doing, it just felt like there was a thing missing. And since we started streaming, I don't feel that way. I feel like the songs we've written already have that something going. It's strange to me how it has changed. Yeah, Mark, agree. The way I heard about this technique was from, what's his name? Jamie Lydell. He was the first who spoke about it. And I don't know, I'd never thought of trying that. It just never crossed my mind. But ever since I heard him talk about it, it just made complete sense to me. Okay. If we should do... I just want to do... No, actually, let's just... are there any questions to the distortion saturation thing I was talking about? Or are you guys pretty... what's the word? Fulfilled by how I explained it? Also, I would say if you should get one plugin, if you really prefer the analog sound of saturation, go with Decapitator. If you want to have a lot of different possibilities, go with Saturn by FabFilter. It has so many different algorithms. It can go from like amp style distortion to just mild saturation. And if you want the most pristine sort of the sound of running it through an actual analog machine, go with the black box. But just know that the black box is also the one that's heaviest on the CPU. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so what I was talking about is that really right now I'm in the situation where things have gone way better than planned with this whole streaming thing, especially when it comes to just writing songs that I really enjoy and that I want to finish. I thought it would be a longer process, but it kind of happened immediately, and I'm super grateful for that. I don't know, it's been a good back and forth with you guys, and it just feels really really natural, and it's not something that is a hassle to do. But definitely next week I'm going to dial it back a little bit, because I'm at the point now where I want to actually finish some songs. I'm starting to get to that point where I think I have like 10 songs or something like that I would really like to finish in order to free up some mental space. And I didn't think I would be there yet, but I am. And since I haven't really found a way to work with the camera on where I'm sort of finishing songs, it's way easier when you're starting out songs. I think it's easier to have it be entertaining, and I don't know. I haven't quite figured out how to do it where I'm sort of doing the more nerdy stuff and whatever. Point is, I'm taking a short break next week, where the only live stream I'll do next week is the Wednesday Visitor, because that is my favorite day of the week. We've had Asbjørn stop by a couple of times. Yesterday was Sequoia, another great stream. It's just so fun for me to get to be visited in the studio, just talk about stuff, getting some fucking perspective. So I want to do that. But the other days, I will go into finish mode, and instead of live streaming, what I'll do is that I'll put up some short clips when my workday is done, so that I can show you what I've done. Yeah. Also, maybe you can use a short break from watching this thing, and I can use a short break from taking a shower every day and being so presentable, and go back to being what's the English term, like a real studio rat. I wanted to play you one more thing that I need to just get a little bit of input towards, and it's about whether there's something to work on with it. The story behind this song is a little bit convoluted and funny. I made a bass line that I really enjoy this summer in a summer house. Then Flake asked me to do a remix, and I used it for it, and I kind of think I didn't maximize it. And maybe I should do something more with that bass line. It's like one of those funny, bendy pitch type bass lines. Maybe you heard it. It's the one, what's it called? URL, I think. But I'm thinking of doing a completely different version of it. And so far, basically just erased all tracks apart from the few that I want to use. So let's just play it, and I'm interested in whether you think it's something to continue to work on and find a melody and make a new Rangleklods song from. Yeah, that's like the basis of it. And honestly, it's just like I think this could be fucking both fun and good. Like it could be. There's a lot of serious songs that we've worked on the past month, but this just has like a fun energy that I would love to continue to work on. I think it's got it's got a little bit of Mr. Wasso going on. You know, like he's done like flat beat and all sorts of stuff. It's got a little bit of that French justice type house vibe. Yeah, this one is definitely tongue-in-cheek, Mark, for sure. Yeah, and then I mean, it could be tricky to write a melody to this one, but true. I mean, yeah, a specific melody would be difficult, but maybe like some repeated lines. Also to soften it up so it isn't that. Just make it a little bit less house. Yeah, there's a get laid vibe about it. So this is just gonna be all synthesizer work, I think. Like, for instance, this one is a little bit boring right now. You know what it could use? Some distortion, guys. This could use some distortion. Cool. This one I will continue to work on and get into that. fun to maybe record a few things to this. Like, remember that sound we did a couple of Mondays ago where I recorded this metal plate thing? I think it could be fun to do something like that, to just bring a realness into it, but also pair it with some of the other songs we've done lately. That, and then I'm thinking this technique of using granular plugins to fuck with the vocal and sort of just chop it up and then afterwards creating something. Then I think it could fit into what seems right now to be the soundscape of the coming Rangleklods album. But I rarely stumble upon this type of energy, and I really want to finish it right. I just want to show you, apropos distortion, this sound. This is the sound without fuzz. Oh, it is still distorted. Here we go. It's just a completely not interesting, tiny little vocal sample from an a cappella I found. Pitched up, doesn't matter. But with Saturn and then this funny little Max for Live patch that has an insane fuzz sound, you get this. From that. Another good example of distortion being your best friend. Let's see. This is going to be a short one. I'm kind of at the end of what I wanted to get through today. And right after ending the stream, I'll continue working on this one or another one. And I'll still, like, as I said, do small videos, keeping you updated as to what I'm doing day by day. But I'm just going to take a short break until Wednesday, and then the rest of that week as well from the longer live streams. Keeping it interesting for you, for me, and taking that next step with making the album. Because, you know, in a perfect world, that album could be done in a month to a month and a half. That is a perfect world, but it could happen. And then maybe it could already be released before summer. I mean, I wouldn't mind. That would be insane and the fastest turnover for me ever, but who knows? Do you guys have any last questions, things you want to discuss, anything? Otherwise, I want to say have a good weekend when that time comes tomorrow. And yeah, thanks for watching, as always. You know, you can join the Discord where we talk music. Kasper, is that you want the Beekeeper vinyl? Is that it? Tak, Mark. Yeah, but as I said, about I just zoned out for a second. The Discord, we're sort of building up a library of music suggestions, other types of inspiration, just general talk. But it's a really good place for us to hang out when the live streams are over. And Casper, do you mean the EP or do you mean the album we're making right now? Because that would be dope. Okay. I'll definitely keep that in mind. And yeah, I think that's it. Have a good day. And see you Wednesday. Bye-bye.